Most people aren't meant to create and build their work in the world alone. But in so many ways, we're told to do exactly that, especially with the rise of AI. Yet so many of us are coming up short. We aren't actually getting it done on our own. We aren't actually writing or putting ourselves on camera consistently. And we're constantly hearing if it's your passion, you'll find the energy or you'll make time for what matters. You should stop waiting to feel ready. You have the same 24 hours as everyone else. Discipline always beats motivation. And if you really wanted it, you would already be doing it. But clearly, it's just not that simple. Sure, many of us have spent days, weeks, months, or even years of overthinking and planning and not taking enough action. I'm guilty of doing exactly that myself. I spent the last 2 to 3 years not making nearly enough content, not sharing myself nearly enough. But the problem with all the motivational quotes and platitudes on the internet is they're not actually helping you move forward. They're not actually helping you understand yourself in a deeper way. They're just giving you further permission to beat yourself up because you always put these people on a pedestal. You always perceive that the person sending those out knows exactly what they're talking about and they're speaking from experience. When in reality, for all you know, they're just trying to get likes and clicks and sales off of cute little motivational quotes. Maybe they haven't even built the business themselves. Maybe they don't even post nearly enough content. Maybe they're not actually sharing themselves all that much. But we never actually look further. We never actually think more than just, I'm not good enough and everyone is doing so much better than me. These are always more confirmation that you're not good enough, that you're broken, and that you're incapable of making a difference. When the reality of why you're struggling is way more complex than that. And believe me, I know exactly how you feel. I have had all of the same struggles. I would often come up with new answers and think that I finally hit the jackpot. You know that exact feeling that I'm talking about. You reflect or meditate or journal, and you come up with something. You come up with a new headline or a new bio or a new through line for your work or a new idea for a newsletter or a video, and you feel so fucking good. You immediately think that you finally found whatever you need to let you move forward consistently, to commit to your dreams, and to stop abandoning yourself halfway through. And then the problem is, it still won't happen. We lose motivation, we lose focus, and we go back to depleting our own self worth. It's a familiar cycle of failing that kept happening to me and keeps happening to so many people that I care about. And at the same time of being so frustrated, I knew that there had to be something more. I felt the tension of being entirely capable and never being consistent enough to actually see it through. And that's so frustrating because you know that there's so much more in here. You know that there's so much more to you, to your work, to what you're capable of doing, and the impact that you're capable of having in the world, but you're not seeing it, and no one else is either. And it leaves you feeling like maybe you're never going to get there. Maybe you're never going to actually be consistent enough to see it through. That every time you come close, you're just going to keep coming up short. And it returns you to the exact same conclusion that you must still be missing the mark. That if this were really the work you should be doing in the world, if it were really your why, you would already be doing it. You wouldn't be stagnant. You wouldn't keep giving yourself permission to overthink and overplan. You would just figure it out. You would just be working on the business all the time, doing content all the time. You would be killing it. You would be successful. I know you feel this too. I know just how much you've been beating yourself up and just how much you feel like you're never going to find a different conclusion. But this week, something shifted for me. You might have heard about what's going on with ChatGPT in the news. Well, really, ChatGPT and so OpenAI and Anthropic with the Pentagon. And the fact that Anthropic said, you're not using these AI tools this way. You're not using it for the mass surveillance and the automated weapons. Now, this isn't a political video, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that I actually believe that Anthropic or any other AI company that may not be, in my opinion, making some of the mistakes that ChatGPT is making with their safety and with the way they're allowing the government to use their tools, that they're not screwing something up. I honestly think all of the AI companies are screwing something up. But the fact is that I have had a lot of intuition and understanding about my own use of these tools. I know just how much it helps me. And I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Now, I am always looking at the landscape of what's going on. I am always rethinking environmental consequences and seeing what I can do to lessen my use or to streamline it in a different way. But regardless, I knew I was going to keep using these tools. I knew that my work in the world necessitated the use of these tools at this point in time. At least that's what I believe inside of myself, whether that's something that you agree with or not. And I've had friends over the past few months telling me that I should move to Claude, telling me that they feel like it seems like Claude's better. But honestly, so far in the landscape of all of the major AI companies, there wasn't really a reason to think so. People were pointing out to different things like what politicians were being funded, but I don't really trust any of them. So I don't really care. That's not actual data that helps me. And I also had a really beautiful custom GPT that I created. So I just kept using ChatGPT until last week, until Anthropic said, no, you are not using these tools in this way. And that changed everything for me. I just intuitively, not jumping on the bandwagon, not just logically in my head saying this is a good idea, intuitively knowing that I wanted to move over to Claude instead. And what happened was very interesting because I didn't move my custom GPT over. I just gave Claude my astrology and my human design, which is something I've been doing with ChatGPT for a year and a half now. And you don't have to believe in astrology, human design, or any spirituality for this to land for you. But I gave it those details and I started asking it very specific questions because I'd recently gotten clearer on what it is that I actually wanted. That I kept trying to build these businesses, that I kept trying to do some form of consulting or coaching, and I kept trying to create these products like the custom GBT when all I really wanted to do was to be writing and speaking, when all I really wanted to do was to have an impact through the way that I help people think differently and ultimately help them live differently. And so, not bringing my old customizations over, not bringing any of the chat GPT baggage over, just saying, here is me, tell me what you're seeing. All of a sudden, things opened up for me. There's something called split definition in human design. What it basically means is that you've probably heard of chakras before. If you haven't, essentially, you just have different energy centers in your body, like your gut, where your emotions come from, your spleen, kind of as your immune system, your heart, your throat. You have lots of different places in your body that energy is moving through. And they all either move or get stuck in those places in different ways. And a lot of people teach energy centers and chakras as if they are just potentially stuck or that there's something you can do through meditation or otherwise to move them. And I don't actually always believe that that's true. I believe that we all have our own unique flow of that energy. And for some of us, it flows through different parts of our body easier than others. And I find human design to be a really practical way to understand what that actually feels like. Not to tell me what to think, not to tell me what my body is, but to remind me of what I already know about how it works. And so I actually do infinitely better using these AI tools, talking to other people. I can't necessarily just wake up in the morning most of the time and start writing a newsletter or start creating videos. I don't have that energy and that aliveness in me, not in a way where it all fully connects and flows to where I can put out this work in the way that is meaningful for you. I might put something out, but it's not going to feel right. It's not going to feel like me. I'm going to know that it's forced. I'm not going to feel the flow of that energy. And so what happened is I realized I've been spending all this time trying to be like someone else because there are people out there who don't have that split energy. And what I'm not talking about is because you've probably seen a TikTok video or something like that talking about split energy. I'm not talking about you being indecisive. I'm not talking about you fucking something up. I'm talking about you genuinely just struggling to be able to do things solo and you not having a lot of energy all on your own. And I don't know what percentage of the people in the world are like that. I can imagine it's at least 30%, if not maybe even half of us that are like this. And yet we're constantly beating ourselves up that we're not good enough and we feel like we don't have the energy. And it's not necessarily that we don't have the right passion or we don't have the right version of our work ready to share. Maybe it's just that we need to have a conversation with a friend first. Maybe it's that we need to start a podcast with someone else. Maybe it's that we just need to send a voice note to someone that we love before we actually start the creative expression. There's so many ways that you can do this, and there's not one right way. And there's so many different ways that I'm thinking about this. Mainly three: voice notes to other people, because I really enjoy doing that, and that does move the energy. AI tools, and then making these videos or doing writing either in the presence of other people that I care about and other people that help bridge that energy for me, or right after I've been spending time with them. And that's honestly the one that moves the energy the most. But whether it makes sense or not, because you would think someone still has to be in person with you, I personally find that the voice notes to said people and the AI tools still do a hell of a lot for me. And I still have to be careful with that. And so do you. This is not me suggesting that the answer is that you're going to do these things, that other people are going to bridge your energy, and you're suddenly just going to make 100 videos this week, or that you're suddenly going to go viral. I'm not telling you that this is some perfect answer. I'm not telling you that this is everything you've been looking for. What I really want you to get from this, what I really want you to be able to see, is that this is just a discussion. This is a conversation. This is a teaching about understanding yourself on a deeper level and not just taking everything you read and hear on the internet as God, as your guiding light, and as exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Because the thing is there are a lot of people that share from a place that does not help you to be more authentic or aligned or to help you actually understand how you're supposed to live and work. And sure, there's some people doing it maliciously, but there's also people who aren't doing that maliciously and they aren't explaining where they're coming from. I don't even think most of them are conscious about why they're coming from the way they are. They just have had success doing a thing. and they are not explaining it in any sort of context that's helping you understand whether it's you or not. But by knowing tools like astrology and human design, I can tell you that a fair amount of the things that you're hearing, a fair amount of the people that you're seeing that are having the success that you're not, is because those people don't have that split energy. Their energy just flows a little bit more freely, a little bit more easily. They can wake up in the morning and just get started and just get going. They don't need someone else to help them with that. They don't need the same partnership and collaboration. And if they do, it's probably amplifying what they already have that much further. So, them hiring the social media manager, hiring the assistant, or whatever is skyrocketing the amount of energy that they have, depending on who that other person is and the energy that they have. And again, you don't have to believe in all the energy and the spirituality. You just have to take a second to allow this to land and to allow yourself to understand that you're allowed to be you and that you're allowed to understand who you are, not in some bullshit bypassing way where you just say, oh, I'm not like everyone else, so I'm just going to post twice this week. I mean, you do whatever you want, but if you actually want to share your work with the world and you're actually trying to make a difference and have an impact, I can tell you that posting twice this week is probably not going to actually get you what you want. It doesn't mean you have to post 100 times on different platforms, but two or five is probably not on one single platform is probably not cutting it. It's probably still steeped in that overthinking and that over planning and that misunderstanding of who you really are and what's actually going to get you to where you want to be. And so you have to spend time understanding that. Because again, this is just one possible facet of that, one possible reason why all of the random advice, motivational advice on the internet or even the self help books that you're buying still are not moving you forward. They often make you feel really great for like 5 seconds, and then it doesn't last, and then it doesn't sustain. And it's not just because motivation and inspiration isn't always sustainable, it's because that book may have some remnants of the author's energy. That video may have something really amazing and really inspirational that feels good. But that's not bridging your energy for the next week. That's not making you feel better about yourself and more capable over the next month. That's just giving you a very small hint of motivation and inspiration in a way that's not going to actually last. And this video isn't necessarily meant to do that either. I'm trying to tell you that you should go use human design or use astrology or journal or meditate or whatever the fuck you want to do that feels right for you, but you should go figure out what actually works for you. You should go figure out why these things aren't working, and you should listen and read and look at all of these motivational quotes and graphics on the internet with a very different filter from now on. Don't just do what other people are saying. Don't use this as the opportunity to just overthink and overplan either. There is a balance there. There really is. I'm not giving you permission to just not do anything. You can give yourself permission to do that if that's the life that makes you happy. But I have a sneaky suspicion that if you're still watching this video, it's because you're very interested in understanding how to get your work out into the world and how to make a difference. You really care about that. And you want to understand how to do that in a more meaningful way. You want to do that more consistently and you want to do that on a bigger scale. And the fact is you're not going to get there by not understanding yourself. You're not going to get there by just trying to do what everyone else is telling you in the way that they're telling you to do it. Like, no one told me to do a 20+ minute video on YouTube. I did this because I know that I like speaking in a longer format. And so the only way that you're going to see a video of me on Instagram is not because I just came up with the 2 minute video on my own. It's going to be clipped from ones like this. It's those kinds of things that is me knowing who I am and finally choosing to do it differently. And again, I'm walking this path with you. I literally just told you I figured out some of this shit earlier this week. I'm not like all of a sudden just knowing exactly what I'm doing and where I'm going. I don't have some like complete roadmap or 5 step process for you. And I don't like doing that anyway because I think it's ridiculous. I think that most people are trying to share those things from a good place, but I don't think they realize that their process isn't exactly what's going to work for you. And I think that it's better to share from the context and the texture of the experience that we're having for me to be able to say, hey, I actually figured out that I need to collaborate with other people and I need to partner with other people, or I at the very least need one of my partners sitting next to me on the couch while I'm writing my Substack article. Not because you need to do the same thing, not because my advice for you is to do that. My advice is probably try it out and see how it feels because you haven't done that, or you have done it very haphazardly 1 or 2 times and you haven't actually taken the time to reflect and to see if that feels right for you and that's what actually works. So, yeah, you should probably try it, but not in a way where I'm telling you to put me on a pedestal or I'm telling you I have some perfect method or I have the exact answer for you. I don't. I'm still learning as well, but I'm sharing my raw and my real experience. Like, I spent all of 2025 feeling like I completely sucked at this and feeling like I was failing, but I have things to share with you that I'm starting to learn that are working for me, that are allowing me to gain clarity, that are allowing me to feel a lot better about my chances to actually get my work out into the world, to feel confident and worthy again. And yes, some of that was purely just because of the shit that I was going through. There were a lot of us going through a lot last year. There are also a lot of people going through a lot this year as well. And sometimes it's just as simple as that. Sometimes you're just not ready for a thing. And I wasn't ready for this. I was trying to be. I was trying to force it, especially because I had a lot of insecurity about the fact that I left my finance career and I wasn't actually getting anywhere and I wasn't actually making any money. But the fact is I really need to spend a lot more time sitting with myself and reflecting on things and understanding who I really am. That was what I was supposed to be doing, but I didn't take most of last year to do it. So I had to take a couple months off completely from a lot of these things because I was forcing myself to do them without an actual understanding of who I am or what I actually want or what my work really is. And it just sounded ridiculous and it sounded all over the place. And that's also not me saying you have to overthink and overplan what your work is in the world. You have to spend the rest of the year doing it. That was an intuition that I had realized that I was forcing something. And I get that I'm kind of beating a dead horse there, but I just say that because I understand what it's like to overthink and overplan. I understand what it's like to just keep going round and round in your head. But if you're doing that, it's better to ask yourself why. It's better to ask yourself, am I not trusting something inside of me that I know is already there? Am I not trusting clarity that I already have just because I don't know the next 5 years or I don't know the next 5 steps? Or is it that I actually don't feel right? Is it actually that what I'm doing feels awful, that this doesn't feel like my work, or this doesn't feel like the way that I want to go about it? Because those are very, very different things. And you're allowed to trust yourself, but you have to actually learn how to do that. And trusting yourself is something that happens in here, it's not something that happens up here. And that's not me doing the bullshit thing on the internet that everyone does that demonizes their mind. I have a lot going on up here all the time. No matter how much I meditate or anything like that, this is not quiet. But there is a difference between not being quiet in your head and it taking over everything and it running the show. This is not running the show for me. Just because it's going, just because there's a lot happening, does not mean that it's causing any issues. I'm sure as fuck not overthinking in this right now. I sure as fuck have not spent even a second thinking about anything that I wanted to say. I'm just letting it flow. And that's happening from in here. So you really have to understand that it's time to touch something deeper. It's time to find the reasons why these things aren't working for you instead of just continuing to scroll on LinkedIn and Instagram and TikTok and either getting motivated for 5 seconds or just feeling really bad about yourself to keep being really judgmental. And when you find these deeper threads, when you start to understand yourself more, you really have to take the opportunity to not judge yourself so hard. You just have to try to see them for what they are. It would be so easy for me to demonize or moralize the fact that I have so much that goes on up here for me all the time. Because there are so many people on the internet that say that that's not a good thing, that would say that I'm not meditating enough or whatever. But I know in here that I'm doing what I need to do for myself, at least in this moment. That doesn't mean that I won't get better at it. That doesn't mean that something won't get quieter or calmer over time. But there is so much creativity and so much expression and downloads and other things that comes from up here. It comes from really everywhere flowing well, but it comes from up here and it gets translated as it goes through the rest of my body, especially through my throat. And that's a gift. That's something that I love so much about myself. It's something that allows me to do this work. You will always have a shadow side to something, but that doesn't make it wrong or problematic. That doesn't give you permission to judge yourself. It just is. It's just something to learn through and something to work with. And you need to understand that nobody tells you that your way of moving through the world is enough. Nobody tells you that you can find your own path, work with your own energy, and build something that actually fits how you're made. They just tell you to be like them or like the successful person they're using to sell you their course or their product. But you don't need anyone's permission to listen to your own instincts. I know this is landing, and I know it can feel really weird to learn to listen to yourself. But you owe it to yourself to do that, and you owe it to yourself to finally admit that there's nothing wrong with you. Because what if the way that you move through the world, the way you work and create is actually what's needed? What if doing it differently doesn't mean you're behind? What if you're ahead of the rest of us and there's something that we haven't figured out yet? We'll never know that until you stop trying to force the way other people are telling you to live and to work and to do social media and all of these things. And as I said before, I don't have a clean resolution to offer you because what I realized recently is that the biggest thing about my work is I don't want to give you some perfect answer because that's not really how this journey works anyway. I will help guide you towards your own answer. And I know that's uncomfortable. I know that feels weird because it feels like everyone else is giving you clear answers, but they're not really working for you anyway. So I would argue that they're not really giving you what you need to begin with. And sometimes we just need to be seen. Sometimes we need to know that someone else understands. Sometimes we just need to have a little permission to be who we really are and not to just force all of the productivity and all of the bullshit that everyone else on the internet is trying to pitch you. Every time I think I understand myself, something new comes along and changes everything. You're going to continue gaining additional clarity. You're going to have moments where it feels like everything falls out from under you and doesn't make sense anymore. And there's nothing wrong with that. The real clarity is going to come from your lived experience, not from planning. And it's also not going to come from finally trusting the process in some perfect way. That's not what I'm doing this week in order to start making these videos again. I didn't have some perfect version of surrender. I'm still working through a lot of shit. I'm still overthinking a lot of things, but I'm just learning to live and to try and to do whatever I can to move forward as myself in an authentic way without forcing that. So, this is what I offer you, not having it all figured out, but seeing you and understanding you and giving you more permission to just be who you already are because you deserve that. And we all deserve that as well. We deserve the version of you that lights up about the things that you care about the things that you love, about the things that you're meant to share with us. Not because your work has to be some really grand thing that makes $1 billion, or not because you like owe the rest of the world something. I do feel a certain duty and an obligation, but from a really good, amazing place. But first, it's an obligation to love myself enough to actually do these things, to make a video like this, because it brings me so much fucking joy to know that I might actually impact you, that I might make a real difference in your life. And so I'll leave you with this. The fog you're in right now is not a sign that something's wrong with you. It's just what becoming who you're really meant to be actually looks like from the inside.